I never knew love could be so beautiful until I saw this heartwarming story. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. It started like any other day. The sun was shining, the sky was a flawless blue, but inside me a storm was brewing. My hands trembled as I clutched the letter, the words blurring into a frantic mess. I'm leaving. Those two words echoed in my mind like a thunderclap. Sarah. My heart shifted at the thought of her, the vibrant spark in my life. We had shared dreams, whispered secrets late into the night. The kind of love that pulled you in like the tide embracing the shore. But now it felt like the ocean was receding, leaving me stranded and gasping. I glanced at the window, our tree swayed lightly outside, the one we carved our initials into last summer. The memory was a stab to my chest, a reminder of what we had lost. The silence was suffocating. My pulse thundered in my ears, drowning out the world beyond. I needed to see her, to understand why this was happening. I rushed through the door and into the bright sunlight, my heart pounding like a war drum as I sprinted through the streets. The city buzzed around me, people moved like shadows, but I felt so alone. Each step took me closer to the unknown. Pushing my fear aside in an act of desperation, I arrived at the café where we first met, the scent of roasted coffee and warm pastries engulfing me. My eyes swept across the room. No sign of her. Panic rose. My breath hitched. I felt like a lost child in a sprawling maze. Have you seen her? I asked, my voice barely a whisper, trembling. The waitress' expression turned grave as she nodded toward the back. She's waiting. My heart skipped. What could that mean? Did she want to explain? My palms were clammy as I pushed open the door. And there she was, sitting in the corner, tears glistening in her eyes. The sight crushed me. Hadn't wanted to cry, hadn't wanted the world to see her vulnerability. I sank into the chair across from her, the air thick with unspoken words. Why? I managed to whisper. But Sarah just stared down at the table, her hands shaking, the coffee growing cold between us. I don't want to hurt you, she said finally, her voice breaking like thin glass. You deserve better. Each syllable felt like a jab to my chest. But before I could respond, she pulled out another letter from her bag. There's something you need to know. The weight of those words hung between us, trembling like the flickering candle on the table. My heart raced. What could be more shocking than what I already knew? As she handed it to me, my hands brushed against hers. A spark. A flicker of hope in the abyss of despair. And yet, I remained transfixed, my mind racing with fear of the unknown. Read it, she urged, her voice fragile as a whispering wind against the storm. I opened it slowly. The words blurred again, but my eyes widened in disbelief. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The words on the page twisted like a serpent in my mind. I didn't choose this life. Confusion gripped me, mingling with the hot surge of despair. I looked up at Sarah, searching her face for answers, for clarity, but what greeted me was a storm of emotions. Fear, regret, and an aching love that was nearly unbearable. Wait, I said, trying to make sense of the jumble of thoughts. What do you mean you didn't choose it? Are you saying this is forced? Someone is making you do this? As I spoke, I could see the flicker of something in her eyes, a flame of defiance masked by the overwhelming sadness. It's complicated, she replied, her voice quaking. My family is involved in something dangerous. I thought I could keep it hidden from you, but it's too late. They think if I leave, I'll endanger everyone. My heart sank deeper. And for a moment, the weight of her words pressed down on me like a physical force. But Sarah, we can figure this out together. You don't have to face this alone. We can leave, we can, she exclaimed, the heat of her panic sparking in the air between us. Her eyes were wild, desperate. You don't understand. They won't let me go. If I refuse, they've said they'll hurt you or worse. Why? Breath caught, grappling with the enormity of her confession. I wanted to comfort her, to tell her everything would be okay. Yet I felt just as trapped as the moment I first read those awful words on the letter. The looming threat danced over us, pulling me into the shadows that enveloped her. Is that why you've pushed me away? I asked softly. Because you think it's for my own good. She nodded, tears spilling onto her cheeks. I can't let you get hurt. You're everything to me. I thought if I ended it, you would be safe, but I can't live without you. The last part stole my breath, and despite my storm of emotions, a small hope flickered within me. Then let's fight for it. Together. The resolve in my voice felt foreign, yet powerful, an echo of my love demanding that I not give up. What if it's too late? She whispered, her voice racked with doubt. What if they've already made plans? Before I could respond, the cafe door swung open, and a gust of wind rushed in, carrying with it the scent of impending rain. I turned to see a figure silhouetted against the harsh light, tall, menacing. My heart sank, urgency mounting within me. It was Ryan, one of her family's associates, a man whose presence cast a shadow over the room, draining hope from the air. He scanned the cafe with an intensity that felt malicious, his gaze finally landing on us, a cruel smile creeping across his lips. What an unexpected reunion, he said, his voice smooth but laced with condescension. Sarah, we need to talk. The tremor in Sarah's hands escalated as fear gripped her. She looked at me, panic filling her eyes. You need to leave. Now that I stood up, instinctively reaching for her hand. The warmth of her skin sent flames racing through me. But Ryan's presence forged chains of dread around my heart. No, I'm not leaving you. Don't make this harder than it needs to be, Ryan sneered, stepping closer, his posture threatening. In that split second, the noise of the cafe faded, the reality of our love teetering on the brink of devastation. I had to protect her. I had to save her from this monster, even if it meant defying everything. The world stood still, but Sarah's eyes remained locked with mine. Fear, love, and helplessness mingled. It felt like the eye of a storm, aching with possibility yet heavy with the pending chaos. And just as the tension reached its peak, Ryan pulled out a sleek envelope from his jacket. My gut twisted. This isn't a negotiation, he said, flipping it open. You see, there are consequences for disobedience, and I'm afraid you'll soon learn what that truly means. My stomach dropped at the implication, the suffocating realization that this was only the beginning of our nightmare. I tightened my grip on Sarah's hand, knowing whatever choice had to be made in this moment would pave the way for our future, and it felt like we were standing on the edge of a cliff, with the ground crumbling beneath our feet. I won't let him take you, I whispered fiercely, sensing the shift in the atmosphere, as if destiny itself was holding its breath for our next move. And that instant, as the storm unfurled around us, I couldn't shake the sense that a chaotic battle awaited that would test the limits of our love far beyond what we had ever anticipated. I felt a balloon of desperation rise within me, knowing that every choice we made now held the power to change everything. Ryan continued to smile, the slow realization dawning upon him that our story was far from over. And as fear coiled around our hearts, there was a startling sense of clarity. We would not go down without a fight, but before I could take another step, a loud bang echoed through the cafe, jolting us from our shared gaze. A commotion erupted, and in that single moment, everything fractured. I felt a cold chill skitter down my spine as panic unfolded in waves, and I knew then that our world was about to shatter completely, leaving only the echoes of what once was, and what we desperately hoped to hold on to. The chaos unfolded in a blur as screams pierced the air, drowning out the clinking of cups and the low hum of conversation that had once enveloped us in comfort. The cafe's atmosphere snapped like a tightrope underfoot, plunging us into a realm colored by fear and uncertainty. Ryan's gaze, once predatory, flickered with confusion, momentarily losing its edge. People scrambled for the exit, tables fell, chairs were overturned. I pulled Sarah closer, shielding her with my body, my heart thrumming with panic at the thought of losing her amidst the madness. What's happening? She shouted over the noise, her voice trembling. I don't know, I shouted back, my eyes scanning the room, searching for any semblance of order amid the chaos. The door swung open again, and a hooded figure stepped in, holding something, a gun, and the world seemed to press into silence. Time stretched like a rubber band ready to snap. Get on the ground! A deep voice boomed, sending a ripple of terror through the cafe. The guests did as instructed, dropping into the floor like dominoes as disbelief paralyzed them. But Sarah and I remained standing, tangled in our brewing storm of emotions. Go. I urged her, but a fierce look settled in her eyes. We can't leave people like this. Before I could respond, the hooded figure's gaze flicked toward us, assessing. I felt all the blood drain from my face as I realized our moment of vulnerability hadn't gone unnoticed. The weapon slowly turned in our direction. I stepped in front of Sarah, instinctively wanting to protect her, but the cold grip of dread settled over me. Please don't. A woman whimpered from beneath her table. Her child, small and delicate, pressed against her side, wide-eyed and confused. My heart shattered at the sight. This wasn't just about us anymore, it was about everyone here. Stand still, the armed figure hissed, as if every second stretched to eternity. Yet, as fear siphoned through me, Sarah regained her composure. Let's just do what he says. It's what they want, she whispered earnestly, her eyes fierce, a spark of defiance igniting once more. Before I could reply, Ryan broke away from his momentary stupor, his gaze locked onto the frightening scene. He turned abruptly, bolting toward the center of the café, expelling a command that echoed with authority. Everyone stay down. You don't want to get hurt. But the darkness surrounding us didn't care about commands. The hooded figure shifted, the gun still unyielding in their hand. Get back. This isn't your fight. I could see the panic building in Sarah's eyes, reflecting the flickering light of hope attempting to pierce through the cloud of despair. While others cowered, I felt a surge of something deeper. A fierce protective instinct wrapped around the both of us. And then, as if fate itself intervened, the sounds of sirens began to wail from outside, a slow crescendo becoming louder with each passing second. A wave of hope washed over me, making me realize that we weren't alone in this struggle. Just as quickly as it had arrived, Sarah's expression shifted again, the raw terror mingling with resolve. Stay behind me, I said, my voice steadier than I felt, and I edged toward the back of the café, trying to shield her from view. But Ryan's voice rose above the chaos, anger slicing through him. Don't move. This isn't a game. He shouted, and I could sense the shift in his demeanor, the desperation clawing at him like a caged animal. That I felt a heavy tug at my heart as I glanced at Sarah. Well, get through this, I said, knowing there was truth buried beneath the worry. We were on the precipice of the unknown, and there was something indescribably beautiful about standing together in uncertainty. Then, with one swift move, the hooded figure turned back toward Ryan. You've chosen the wrong side, and now you'll pay. Their voice carried an ominous finality, one that quickened my heartbeat. And that moment, the air thickened with anticipation, our fate tangled with theirs in a precarious dance. I felt the ground shifting beneath us, a fleeting moment of clarity piercing through the chaos. Sarah squeezed my hand, her eyes filled with an urgency I couldn't ignore. We have to manage our fear, she whispered, and it sent a jolt of electricity through me. Fear could consume us, or we could rise above it. I could see the embers of hope reigniting, fueled by our shared courage. Then, as if the world orchestrated a cruel twist of fate, the café's door burst open again, and a group of officers flooded in, their shouts drowning out the noise of panic swirling around us. I turned to Sarah, the hope sparking like fireworks in our hearts. But Ryan's look turned primal, and I knew we hadn't seen the end of this way. In the blink of an eye, the gunfire rang out, a deafening sound that froze everyone in place. Time slowed as I watched Ryan lunge, the chaos unfolding like a dark tapestry, a vivid reflection of our fragile situation. With the world around me slipping into turmoil, the last image I saw before the haze enveloped us was Sarah's eyes, wide with fear yet glittering with an unbroken spirit. Love tethered us despite the chaos unraveling, and in that split second, I understood that our journey had reached a new and harrowing chapter. And just like that, the canvas of our reality splattered with fear, love, and the unforeseen uncertainty that awaited us. The air pulsated with tension, a mix of fear and adrenaline weaving through the crowd, thick enough to choke. As I blinked against the confusion, the flashes of gunfire blurred my thoughts. I knew I had to focus. There was still a flicker of hope deep inside me, urging my instincts to take charge, to shield the ones I loved. But the reality was darkening. The shooting had sparked utter pandemonium, pushing the café's patrons into frantic chaos. Each person scrambling as if gained momentum could outpace fate. Ryan was still positioned at the center, and I caught a glimpse of his face, set with jaw-clenching determination, reshaping into a mask of rage. Get out! A police officer shouted, waving his arm as he pushed people towards the exits. The deafening sound of shoes skidding against the floor accompanied the sirens continuing to wail outside. I stayed low with Sarah, the ebb and flow of the crowd a tormenting rhythm around us. Movement felt like a call to madness, yet in this dark tide, I found solace in Sarah's hand. Her warmth the lifeline I clung to. In the rush I could taste adrenaline at the back of my throat, and my mind spun with possibilities, vacillating between the horrors unfolding around us and the warmth blooming in my chest. Through the noise Sarah leaned closer, her soft voice just a whisper. "We need a plan." A surge of gratitude filled me. Her unwavering courage was an anchor, a stark contrast to the tumult swirling around us. "We can't let Ryan get hurt," I murmured, aware that our commitment to each other was becoming a beacon in the dark. We had to end this torment. Our love was too precious, too vital to let it wither under the weight of chaos. Sarah nodded, but her face betrayed her. The stark reality we faced glimmered in her eyes. My heart ached for her innocence, for all of us in this café. I watched as fear walked beside us like a shadow, looming ominously at every corner. Just then, I caught a glimpse of the hooded figure collapsing backward, the weapon clattering to the ground. The chaos shifted briefly as several officers surged forward, but it was quickly met by renewed frenzy. Ryan was gone, lost in the melee. Panic bloomed in my chest again like a storm desperate to be released, yet I had to resist the urge to break free. "Focus, David, focus," I told myself through gritted teeth, breaking free from the confines of fear that sought to imprison me. Glancing back at Sarah, I formed words that had to shatter this dreamlike nightmare we were stuck in. "Can you see him? We need to find Ryan. Something is about to happen." My heart galloped, knowing that they were still in danger, even if the gunman's immediate threat had dissipated. Sarah peered over the crowd, her brow furrowed in concentration. "There, behind the counter," she shouted, prompting me to follow her direction. As we pushed through the desperate masses, pausing occasionally to check for the sounds of any fresh gunfire, an unsettling quiet began to settle over the scene, broken only by the sporadic cries of confusion and pain. Adrenaline coursed through my veins as we finally reached the main counter. In a fortuitous moment, I collapsed beside the trembling figure of Ryan, his face pale and strained. He was clutching his side, blood seeping through his fingers in a grotesque reminder of the violence that had shattered our lives that day. "Sarah," I called, my voice shaking as I moved to examine Ryan's wounds, dread gnawing at my insides. She knelt beside me, panic twisting her features as she assessed the damage. "He needs help now." A fresh wave of desperation surged through me. "Oh, call for help." I fumbled for my phone, remembering the officers' shouts, their insistence to flee. But I couldn't leave Ryan behind. Not now, not after everything that had transpired. Just as I dialed, a strange flicker caught my eye. The hooded figure was stirring once more in the corner of my vision, slowly raising their weapon again. My heart plummeted. "Sarah, look out." Time splintered as I dove to shield her, instinct taking over once more. The world blurred again in a symphony of chaos, and amid the shouts and cries, I felt sorrow tugging at the corners of my heart. Even in the direst of moments, love remained steadfast. We were entangled not just in fear, but in a deep heart-wrenching connection that fueled us forward. I could feel hope slipping away, a whisper in the dark. Yet in that fleeting second, I could almost convince myself that there would be more chapters ahead, ones that could turn this pain into something resembling peace. As sirens blared once more, coupled with the unmistakable echo of gunfire, I heard Sarah's voice, steadier than before. "We will get through this, whatever it takes." But as the reality of our struggle unfolded like an infinite scroll, an explosive surprise struck me like lightning. I turned back to Ryan, met his desperate gaze, and felt my heart break anew. He held something behind his back, and without warning, the truth dawned on me. This was far from over. The storm was only gathering strength, and we hadn't seen the last of our ordeal yet. I breathed, a deep dread settling low in my gut as the final truth hovered just out of reach. Then the chaos erupted again, and as the world around me fell into splinters, I couldn't help but wonder what sacrifice would be demanded to reach the light we sought. The cacophony around us faded into a sinister whisper, an unsettling calm enveloping the café that momentarily dulled the shrieks and cries that had filled the air. I barely dared to breathe, consumed by the reality of the moment. staring wide-eyed at Ryan. My heart drummed an erratic beat against my ribs, discordant against the backdrop of chaos. "Ryan, what do you have?" I stammered, dread snaking its way through my mind. The way he held his hand, masked behind his body, was cautious yet defiantly steady. It was as if he was standing on the precipice of revelation, both fearful and eager to divulge the untold weight he bore. "David, listen," his voice wavered, pulling at the fraying strands of my patience and hope. I could sense the urgency behind his words, a desperate need to protect those he loved. Yet uncertainty loomed. Fear twisted like a vine around his expression, threatening to suffocate not just him, but all of us. Tension thickened with each passing second until it felt suffocating, everything hanging on the razor's edge of a single moment. Sarah's grip on my arm tightened, her eyes flickering from me to Ryan, sensing the intensity that enveloped us. A familiar, disconcerting sound of boots thundering against the cafe floor broke the silence, rattling our senses once more. Officers flooded the entrance, faces strained with urgency, shouts emphasized by the urgency staining every syllable. I glimpsed the flare of authority, but their presence didn't ease the overwhelming concern curling around my gut. "Stay low," one officer yelled, the command ricocheting off the walls. As their flashlights carved through the shadows, I felt a momentary surge of relief. Help had finally arrived. But then Ryan shifted, and the look in his eyes stilled my heart. The kind of grim acceptance that carried a burden no one should have to carry alone. "Ryan, please, what is it?" I begged, desperation creeping through my voice. His lips trembled as if the words lodged in his throat weighed too much to bear. "David, there's something you need to know." The GA was after something. He wasn't alone. Each word sliced through me like ice, leaving trails of apprehension. The chaotic atmosphere fluctuated, and in that heartbeat, I understood for the first time that this attack was not random. It was calculated. A flicker of recognition swept through me, mingling with the terror. We were not merely surviving a crisis. We were unwitting participants in a larger, more insidious plot. "What do you mean?" I pressed, the knot in my stomach tightening further. His hand pulled from behind his back, and amidst the turmoil, he revealed a small device thin, like a delicate piece of technology that felt out of place in this brutal reality. "I found this on him. They could use it to," he paused, shards of fear contorting his features, "to hurt more people." Reality crashed down on me like a tidal wave. The enormity of our situation was suffocating. My heart sank deeper into a pit of despair, each thought spiraling further from hope. The police were here, but what if they didn't understand? What if chaos ensued again, and lives were lost on top of those we had already lost? Just then a rising chant erupted outside, a gathering storm of voices. The public was participating. It filled my ears with a mix of dread and disbelief. The candlelight vigils I had imagined countless times in soft, comforting hues of hope were now shadowed by harsh realities, the power to mobilize hope amid tumult or permit it to brew into hatred. In that moment I realized that these walls couldn't contain the storm brewing outside. Each individual affected, each life intertwined. "We have to expose this," I shouted, fear replaced with desperate resolve. "If there's something bigger at play, then we can't let this go unnoticed." Sarah nodded, her grip on my arm firming. "But how?" "We need to tell them, it's our only chance." The officers drew closer, assessing the situation, and despair merged with urgency as I caught a glimpse of their eyes, curiosity mixed with mistrust. "You don't understand," I urged, each word a plea. "There's more to this. We can't just go back to normal. Not when people's lives are at risk." Just then, the unmistakable sound of a gunshot thundered once more. Shock waves vibrating through the crowd and crashing against the hopeful tide that had blossomed. Instinctively, I threw myself across Sarah, clutching Ryan protectively as panic reigned again. As silence blanketed the cafe, the whispers of impending dread clawed at my consciousness once more. "David," Ryan gasped, strength fading, the weight of each collected revelation reflected in his weary state. "You have to go, you have to warn them, don't let this be for nothing." Each word was a knife twisted deeper into my heart. I could hear the sirens fading, the chaos transforming into a possible endgame. Just then, through the haze, another revelation struck me, realization that those who sought to tear us apart weren't just faceless monsters. They were invisible influences, ideologies that could only be challenged through courage and unity. Don't say that, I shouted, desperate to cling to the remnants of my dwindling hope. We'll figure it out together. I swear I won't leave you. But a heavy darkness loomed, a reality that felt far too close, far too visceral. I braced for the unknown, the fear of potential loss clasping my heart like icy shackles. Sarah's determination radiated through her gaze, her resolve infectious even as tears glistened on her cheeks. Together, David. No matter the cost. The words ignited a spark deep within, a fragile flicker of perseverance molded through despair. But as another gunshot rang through the air, reshaping our destinies, a chilling realization settled in my chest. The truth was far more intricate and dangerous than ever before, and as we faced the storm, I could only wonder who among us would shine brightest amidst the shadows, and who might become lost forever. The café was wrapped in a suffocating stillness, the chaos of moments before now replaced with a suffusion of uncertainty and dread. I could hardly breathe, the weight of Ryan's revelation hanging between us like a thick fog. Outside I could hear the distant wails of sirens, the echo of the gunshot reverberating in my mind like an unrelenting drumbeat. It was a stark reminder that our world had shifted, innocence devoured by a burgeoning darkness. David, please, Ryan urged, his voice vibrating with urgency. You need to take the device. You're the only one who can get it to safety. No, I won't leave you. My heart thudded painfully against the walls of my chest, each beat a reminder of the fear lurking just beyond the cafe doors. What if they come back for me? His words carried the bitterness of truth, each syllable imbued with a gravity only a survivor could convey. I don't want to be a burden, David. You can't afford to lose hope. Sarah nodded, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. He's right. We can make a stand here, but the truth, it might be the only thing that pulls us through this. I looked from Ryan to Sarah, their faces illuminated in the flickering light, each blink reflecting a shared understanding of the stakes that lay ahead. But how could I choose? The thought of letting Ryan face whatever came next alone gnawed at me, my heart torn between friendship and fear. The officers were drawing closer now, their cautious movements echoing with an urgency that felt both reassuring and terrifying. But their approach only heightened my sense of peril, my instincts screaming that this was not over. Listen to me. I took Ryan's shoulders, shaking him gently, desperate to make him see the urgency. You have to trust me. We must fight this together. I won't let you go. His eyes searched mine, a tumult of emotions that mirrored my own. You have to protect yourself, David. This isn't just about me anymore. It's about everyone. The world outside wavered, the chaos still simmering like a pot on the verge of boiling over. I pressed my forehead against his, a silent exchange of strength and resolve igniting in the face of despair. In that moment I knew that our bond was forged in the fire of adversity, and surrender was not an option. As I glanced toward the police, a thought flickered in my mind. We won't go quietly. We need to make them see. We need to be heard. But how? Sarah interjected, her voice trembling as the teetering scales of emotion weighed heavily upon her. I don't know yet, I confessed, my brow furrowed in determination. But if there's a chance we can together unravel this, we must take it. Before we could flesh out a plan, another flurry of shouts erupted from outside the cafe. Faces pressed against the glass, wide-eyed onlookers mingled with officers, and there was a palpable energy in the air, a rallying cry for justice in the face of fear. My heart swelled with a fragile sense of hope. Perhaps we weren't alone in this storm. Then, unexpectedly, amid the shouting masses, a figure broke through the crowd, rushing toward us with purpose, a woman, her features a blend of fear and determination. She clawed her way past the police line, her frantic gestures signaling desperation. David. Her voice cut through the tension, sharp and resonant. You have to come with me. They're watching you. Confusion clouded my thoughts as I recognized her, the daughter of a local news anchor who had once championed our community through countless crises. Mia? What are you talking about? The group who attacked you are in their sights. They know you have something, she exclaimed, her eyes wide with urgency. We're moving. Now. Panic spiked through me, a visceral jolt resonating in my chest. I turned to Ryan, his expression reflecting my own alarm. We can't leave you, I protested. They'll follow you if you don't go now. I promise I'll get you somewhere safe, Mia insisted, her hands gripping mine, her energy radiating a collective resolve that intertwined with my own. In that moment, A flicker of choice lingered before me, a path strewn with uncertainty. I could feel the walls closing in, the shadows pulling tighter around us with every passing heartbeat. My gut twisted at the thought of abandoning Ryan, yet the stakes felt too high. Lives hung in the balance. "David, it's our only chance," Sarah urged softly, her voice a tether in the tumult of my turbulent thoughts. "If Mia can help you, it might change everything." That I bit back a sob, my heart tearing at the seams. "Please just promise me you'll stay strong," I implored Ryan, his face a mask of anguish. "I will. Promise." With one last look, burned in my memory for the uncertainty it held, I clutched the small device Ryan had given me like a lifeline, its purpose weighing heavily against my conscience. Before thoughts could spiral further, I felt Mia's firm grip ushering me toward the exit. The taste of fear and possibility collided within me, a desperate need to reconcile duty with my love for friendship, loyalty feasting on uncertainty. As we collided with the outside world, the sound of distant sirens wailed again, rising like an anthem of chaos, a clarion call amid confusion. I heard a breath behind me and realized that an officer had gripped Ryan, questioning him, while Sarah's soft voice carved a talisman of courage through the crowd. But just as I turned the corner into the circle of humanity, a chilling shout rang through the night, piercing the wall of noise. "There he is! Get him!" Fear twisted my gut anew, and adrenaline surged through my veins. A figure emerged from the shadows. I could see the darkness trace the contours of his face. In that instant I realized the truth clawing at the edges of my consciousness. The battle had only just begun, and I was painfully unprepared for the shadows looming just beyond the light. Emma's hand tightened around mine as we raced into the unknown. A rush of panic coursed through our veins, but even amidst the heart-stopping chaos, I couldn't shake the thought, what if they could preemptively strike at what I had come to cherish most? The night surged around us like a living thing, chaotic and loud, the moans of the city echoing, the turmoil whirling in my chest. With Mia leading the way, we dashed through side streets, the distant shouts of the officers transforming into an unsettling background score to our desperate escape. My heart raced, a wild drum echoing inside my ears, oblivious to the beauty of the stars twinkling above, as if mocking our plight. Mia glanced over her shoulder, her brow furrowed in concern. "We need to get somewhere safe, somewhere they can't find us," she panted, her breath forming clouds in the cool air. Her determination ignited a flicker of hope, but it was dimmed by the nagging worry for Ryan and Sarah left behind in the café, embroiled in their own silent battles. We skidded to a halt behind an abandoned warehouse, the shadows swallowing us almost whole. The air was thick with the scent of rust and decay, but I welcomed the distance from the pandemonium outside. It afforded a moment to gather my thoughts, brief but crucial. I leaned against the cold steel of a building, trying to ground myself amid the rising tide of uncertainty. "Mia, what's going on? Why did you come for me?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper, laced with confusion that wrapped around my heart like a vice. She leaned in closer, her expression serious. "It's not just about you, David. They were looking for the device, sure, but they also know you were with Ryan. They believe that whatever information you have could expose them." She bit her lip as if to add weight to her words, her eyes darting uncertainly. "They'll use threats. You need to understand they won't hesitate." I swallowed hard, the truth landing heavily in my gut. It wasn't just about survival anymore, it was about the repercussions of our actions. "You don't know if they've hurt him yet," I murmured, pain lancing through me at the thought, the very essence of loyalty and friendship hanging in the balance. Mia placed a gentle hand on my shoulder. "If we don't get you and that device out, nothing will change. For Ryan, for Sarthis is a pivotal moment. You have to trust me." Her eyes locked onto mine, and in that instant, I could see the raw empathy reflected back, urging me to embrace the unknown paths we were teetering upon behind us. A clatter of footsteps echoed, a harbinger of danger. I grasped Mia's arm as I peered into the shadows, my breath hitching when I recognized a familiar figure swirling in the darkness, emerging from the residual haze. My heart stopped as I called out, "Ryan!" He stumbled forward, eyes wide, relief surfacing momentarily before realization swept through his expression like a storm. "David! Mia!" Ryan's voice soared, matching the heartbeat of despair revving back into motion. "They were coming for you." Time lost its linear form as we collided. It was both joyful and terrifying. To see him alive, though marred by shadow, sent an electric jolt through me. But that relief was short-lived as the oppressive weight of our predicament settled upon my shoulders once more. "Did they hurt you?" I asked, searching his eyes for signs of trauma. "I am fine." Just his voice faltered, and I could sense the churning emotions bubbling just beneath. "We need to leave. They know everything about us now." He cast a wary glance over his shoulder, the desperation palpable. "We must go, quickly." Questions left unasked hung between us. I could feel them thickly woven in the air, yet we were thrust into the confines of the moment, leaving no time for reflection. As we sprinted behind the warehouse, it became clear that we were out of options. Mia guided us toward an old transit route, a lifeline perhaps, or an exit from this twisted labyrinth. My mind raced with images of chaos spilling from the cafe's frightened face, Ryan's powerful resolve, my burden growing heavier with each step. The silence held its breath, a deceptive promise of peace that belied the storm brewing just beyond our reach. As we approached a dilapidated bus station, a fleeting sense of safety swept over me until a sharp shout sliced through the night. "There they are." Instinct took over, and we darted into the shadows of a nearby alley as the footsteps grew louder. Heart pounding like a wild beast, I pressed my back against the cold, gritty wall, all senses heightened. The world outside blurred, but inside me, fear and fierce determination collided. "David, look," Mia urged, her voice a strained whisper as she crouched beside me. She handed me her phone, its screen illuminating the darkness just enough to show me a message. A snapshot of an article claiming a 24-hour deadline to turn over information regarding the device, signed off by authorities we thought we could trust. I felt a wave of nausea hit me in the pit of my stomach. "Why are they doing this?" Ryan breathed, both fear and shock etched upon his face. "They're desperate," Mia answered, her voice low but steady. "They believe they can control the narrative, that they can silence anyone who dares defy them. We're caught on the precipice of something much larger than us." Just as despair began to wrap itself around us, Mia's phone buzzed. It was a message from another contact. Her hands trembled slightly, the glow of hope battling the shadows. "I know someone who can help us, someone who's been watching this unfold. But it's risky. We have to move now." The air crackled with urgency, and though fear clawed at my insides, I felt something warm, a flicker of hope igniting deep within me. "Then let's not waste another moment," I said, voice firmly anchoring the resolve bubbling within us. We slipped back into the night, shadows tightening their grip. Another revelation struck me like lightning. This wasn't just a fight for survival. This was a test of our spirit, a visceral audition for friendship, for trust, for love. And I wasn't prepared to let that go without a fight. But just as the adrenaline surged through me, I found myself at the edge of a decision, suddenly aware that an unseen player was pulling strings in the dark, and I had yet to understand the deepest of betrayals that lingered dangerously close. The air was fraught with tension as we sprinted down deserted streets, shadows trailing us like dark omens. My lungs burned and my heart pounded with the rhythm of panic, but the thought of abandoning Ryan and Mia was unthinkable. We wove through the labyrinth of alleys, our world shrinking to the fragile bond that tethered us amidst chaos. As we reached a seemingly empty storefront, Mia paused, her eyes scanning the windows for movement. "This way." She pushed open a door that creaked like a sentinel of secrets. Inside, we stumbled into a dimly lit room, filled with forgotten furniture draped in white sheets, ghostly reminders of a lifelong past. "This was an old safe house," Mia explained, her voice breaking the suffocating silence as I shivered against the sudden chill that enveloped us. "We should wait here for a moment." Ryan sank onto a rickety chair, his hands trembling as he raked them through his hair. "What do we do after this?" I could see fear gnawing at him, an echo of the uncertainty I felt. "We trust Mia. She knows someone, remember?" Mia moved closer, her expression a mixture of worry and resolve. "We don't have much time before they trace us back. I sent a message to Lucas. If he can get here, we'll have a chance." Had it really come to this? We were desperate enough to rely on ties to a world I had only glimpsed at the periphery of my life. But in that moment, I pushed my misgivings aside and focused on the flicker of hope Mia represented. It wasn't just the salvation of our physical bodies I craved, it was the feeling deep in my bones that we were more than this facade of fear. Just as that thought enveloped me, a cold blast of air surged through the room, sending a whisper of dread down my spine. It slammed the door behind us open, revealing the street outside. A figure stepped in, silhouetted against the light, And for an instant my breath caught in my throat, their posture, their gait felt wrong. Lucas. Mia's voice trembled as if she too sensed something beneath the surface. But the figure didn't answer, only ominously stepped into the space between us. Mia, they said, their tone an uninvited chill creeping over the tension in the room. You really shouldn't be here. I leaned forward, desperate for clarity. What do you mean? Who are you? My voice felt both small and fragile, unworthy of the chaos unraveling before us. Not your enemy, but not your ally either, said the mysterious figure. It wasn't Lucas, and the truth sank like a stone in my stomach. Their eyes glinted like shards of glass, reflecting neither warmth nor malice, just a stark, chilling indifference. This is bigger than you know, and you're in the center of the storm. What storm? Ryan's voice broke the spell. Raw and straining against the weight of ambiguity, I watched as the stranger took a step closer and produced a small device from their pocket. You all wish to escape, but their reach is longer than you realize. Even this place has eyes. A smirk twitched at the corner of their mouth, and I could feel the air shift thick with dread and despair. Mia clutched my arm, her grip tightening as the reality settled over us like a heavy fog. You've been lying to us, I breathed. All this time you've known more than you're letting on. What do you really want? The figure chuckled softly, almost pityingly. What I want doesn't matter. What matters is how you play your cards now. You're pawns in this game, pawns? I felt the surreal nature of our situation grip me like a vice. We had come this far, but why? Just to realize we were maneuvering in a game orchestrated by others. An iciness spread through my veins. What game? You think they're after the device, and they are, the figure said, but they'll leverage personal ties, exploiting the cracks in your loyalties. Sarah, for example. The name fell into the space between us like a stone, and all air left my lungs in a rush. What do you mean? I hissed, bile rising in my throat. Just that she's caught in the crossfire. You can save her or you can escape. Choose wisely. With that, they tossed the device back to the ground, dust swirling around it before slipping through the door, leaving us in a suffocating silence, frozen. All I could hear was the heavy, echoing thump of my heart. The words clawed at me, each one deeper than the last, tying me to a potpourri of choices. Sarah was in danger? It was a new layer to the whirlwind of emotions swirling around us. Ryan stepped closer. David, we can't trust them. They toyed with us, this could be a trap. Mia stumbled, her voice cracking. We can't just leave her. I was caught between two realities, both equally heart-wrenching, leaving everything behind or risking it all for someone else. I swallowed thickly. We need to move, find her. We can't go back. I want to abandon her. We fight for what we believe in, together as we face the doorway. The weight of choice loomed like a mountain over us. With every step forward, I could feel the walls closing in. We were not just racing against time. We were racing against our own doubts and the looming truth that betrayal wasn't far behind. And just as we turned to leave, my phone buzzed in my pocket, a notification lighting the dim space. My stomach dropped as I glanced at the screen, the words stark and chilling. We have Sarah. 1 hour to comply. The streets outside were cloaked in shadow, and the earlier hope ID felt flickered, threatening to snuff out entirely. The chill in the air was nothing compared to the icy grip around my heart as I processed the message. 1 hour to comply. It vibrated between my ears like a taunting echo, a cruel sense of urgency hanging in the air. Mia, what do we do? I asked, desperation seeping into my voice. Not just for Sarah, but for the fragile thread of hope we had woven together. I could see Mia weighing the enormity of our predicament, her eyes darting nervously, as if we might find answers hiding in the darkness. We find her. Mia's voice was steadier than I felt. We can't let them control us. We know the dangers. If we stand a chance, it's now or never. I can't do this alone. Ryan breathed, fear lacing his words as he grasped the edges of the worn chair beside him. What if it's a setup? What if she's already? He trailed off, unable even to voice the fear creeping over us like a riptide. I shook my head, willing that thought away, focusing instead on the piece of hope that flickered within me. We can't think like that. We need a plan. First, we need to regroup and find our supplies. Mia nodded, gathering her resolve. There's a stash just a few blocks away where we might find something useful. What if they're already watching it? Ryan peered out through the dusty window, scanning the empty street. No one knows we're here, Mia countered softly. We have to take the risk. That I felt the weight of her words. The choice to fight had already been made. Inspiration surged within me. The thought of Sarah, her laughter, and the strength we shared filled me with determination. Let's go. We moved now that we slipped out of the safe house, our feet shushing against the pavement, creating a rhythm in tune with our racing hearts. Fear was palpable, a tang in the air, but urgency pushed us onward, granting us new wings of adrenaline. With each step, the night wrapped around us like gauze, muffling sound, amplifying the thundering heartbeat that thrummed in our chests. For every shadow that flickered in the corner of my eye, every chilly breath of wind that wrapped tight around me, I reminded myself that Sarah needed us, and that love can be a powerful anchor as we approached the stash. I couldn't shake the feeling that we were being watched. The abandoned structures around us loomed like giants prepared to devour anyone who dared venture too close. I felt sweat form at my temples as I whispered my thoughts to Ryan and Mia, brushing against the possibility of danger. Mia, do you really think Lucas will come for us? She paused at my words, gaze fixed on the ground as if gathering strength from the asphalt. He's our best shot. He cares. He won't let us down. But did he truly care? Or was it merely an obligation born from shared history? As those thoughts echoed in my mind, we reached the stash, an unmarked entrance concealed behind an overturned dumpster that appeared abandoned to the world. My heart clenched as Mia pushed through and we followed inside. The darkness swallowed us whole, and as we turned on our phone flashlights, I spotted crates haphazardly stacked in the corners, remnants of supplies. Handing out water and ration food, I tried hard to focus on the mundane to quell the tempest of thoughts swirling within me. Take what you can carry, Mia urged, scanning the crates for supplies while I filled my bag. And keep moving. We have to get out of here before they trace us. At that moment, something unexpected glimmered against the wall, a small, delicate necklace that caught the light. I knew that necklace. It belonged to Sarah. I picked it up, my heart racing, feeling it pulse with the power of the memories it held. I found it, I exclaimed, holding it aloft. The glint of silver felt charged, a reminder of her spirit. Calm washed over Mia's face as she stepped forward, reaching to gently take it from me. This means she fought. It means she's still alive. That tiny piece of jewelry ignited a spark within us. A promise that she was out there fighting too. Our resolve deepened. She needed us as much as we needed her. As we hurried to gather our belongings, shadows shifted just beyond the edges of our shaky light, twisting like specters of our doubts. Suddenly a figure loomed in the darkness, a familiar silhouette emerging narrowly from the shadows. My stomach dropped as recognition flooded me. Someone who hadn't been in the shadows until now. Before I could process the implications, the figure stepped into the weak light, revealing a hauntingly familiar face, one I hadn't dared to think about in my wildest nightmares. Sarah's brother Nate, his face marred by fear and anger, emerged from the darkness like a ghost intent on delivering a message. "What are you doing here?" he rasped, the sharp edges of his voice cutting through the tension. "You need to leave now." Clarity crashed into me like a wave. His warning wasn't merely about Ryan, Mia, and me. It felt larger, drenched in a sense of urgency that reverberated through the very air between us. "What do you know?" I pressed him, adrenaline flooding my veins. His eyes flared with urgency as he glanced towards the door, and as our gazes locked, I could feel the unspoken weight of choices, of lives hanging in the balance, the raw truth enveloping our fragile hope. The air felt electric, charged with thunderous intensity. "The same people who took Sarah, they know you're here. They're coming. I don't know how much time we have." The gravity of his words landed heavily, and for a brief second, everything seemed to hang in the balance. My mind raced, focusing on that ill-fated hour, fear threatening to claim the last vestige of my hope. Before I could even respond, Nate pulled back from us, urgency etched into his expression. "Are you coming or not?" A chilling sense of impending danger drowned my thoughts, and I took a breath, steadying myself against the tide of turmoil. With the clock ticking, I felt the walls closing in around us once more, the looming shadows growing larger, threatening to swallow us whole. Together, I whispered, ready to step into the unknown. But as Nate started to move toward the exit, a loud crash erupted from the street outside, shattering my resolve, leaving us breathless, frozen in the moment they were here. Panic surged within me, choking off any semblance of rational thought as the weight of our reality crashed down. The world outside was collapsing in on itself, and the shadows that had pursued us through every dark alley and abandoned warehouse were finally breaking in. I felt the adrenaline coursing through my veins, setting my heart racing out of control while my mind scrambled for a plan. "Go!" Nate shouted, urgency threading through his voice, snapping me back to the moment. In a flurry of motion we darted towards the exit, adrenaline guiding us like a beacon through the weight of uncertainty. I could hear the distant shouts of voices, the growing clamor indicating that this was no longer just a threat targeted at us. It was a hunt. Mia, Ryan, and I rushed to follow Nate, sprinting outside into the icy air, each gust delivering a sharp reminder of how close danger had come. We ducked into the shadows of the alley, the scent of steel and grit swirling around us, but Nate's presence provided an anchor. It was a tether to hope, a reminder that we weren't alone in this spiraling nightmare. But as we ran, a sickening realization settled in the pit of my stomach. I couldn't help but feel the weight of Sarah's absence, a gap in our tight bond that felt insurmountable. What would happen if we didn't find her in time? Could we really outrun the ghosts that haunted us? Or would the fear surrounding us eventually swallow us whole? We maneuvered through the back streets, Nate leading us deeper into a maze I couldn't comprehend. I could feel the pressure building, every silent step pressed against the reality of urgency. Finally, as we turned a corner, we stumbled onto a grimy bridge that arched over a low river. The night cloaked us, the moonlight casting an eerie glow across the water, but even in the darkness, urgent clarity shimmered through my thoughts. "It's bad," Nate said, his voice strained. "They've got everything under surveillance. My family knows that you're involved. Sarah's already caught between them and their schemes." The raw pain in his voice punctured through me, a striking reminder of how interconnected our fates had grown. "I won't let them take her," I said through gritted teeth, resolve weaving through my fear. There was no choice left. We had to find her. The thought of her struggling, her strength trapped among their darkness, lit a fire within me, igniting my spirit against despair. Suddenly, a sound echoed in the distance, footsteps heavy against the worn pavement, voices rising like wolves baying at the moon. I turned to Nate, urgency spurring through me. "Is there another route?" Nate's eyes darted around, desperate and calculating. "There's a tunnel that leads out from under this bridge. It connects to an old metro line. We might be able to slip through undetected. But we have to hurry, we don't have much time." Without waiting for a reply, Nate sprinted towards a crumbling staircase descending into darkness. The echoing footsteps behind us grew closer, the reality of our situation pressing in like an inescapable wave. I glanced back at Ryan and Mia, exchanging fleeting looks that both bore the weight of fear and determination. Together we rushed into the depths of uncertainty. As we descended, the darkness enveloped us, the air thick with moisture and grime. The tunnel stretched out before us, a yawning mouth leading deeper into the earth, away from the cacophony of the world above. Flickering shadows danced along the rough walls, and I could hear the distant tumult receding, pulling me a breath away from raw panic. I knew I had to keep my focus on Sarah. Every step echoed with the pulse of my heart, the rhythm of determination pulling me forward. "Do you know where they might have taken her?" I asked Nate, the urgency tightening around my throat. He shook his head, frustration etched into his features. "No one knows for sure, but there are rumors about an abandoned facility outside of town, a place rumored to hold people who got too close to the truth. It's where they go when they think no one can find them." Revelation felt like an anchor weighing me down, but amidst the confusion surged a fierce sense of clarity. "We need to find that place. We have to fight back," I said softly, but within me, resolve crackled with intensity. Mia pressed her hands together, grounding herself as she whispered, "If there's a chance we can save her, we have to take it. We can't let fear control our choices." As we continued through winding tunnels, I felt the shadows chasing us slowly recede, but every inch gained felt fleeting. A flicker of light finally appeared in the distance, illuminating the path ahead like a beacon. The tunnel opened up into a vast chamber, and my heart raced as I realized we were nearing the surface again. But as we stepped into the light, everything changed again. The momentary brightness had turned haunting. A stark realization washed over me like ice water. More figures waited up ahead, shadows flitting dangerously close to the edge of our hopes. My stomach tightened in fear as they converged, voices sharp, their intentions unmistakable. It was too late for escape. "Get ready," Nate shouted, the panic in his voice echoing in the depths of my mind as they moved towards you. In that moment, something snapped within me. I could feel the tether of fear evaporate, replaced by a fierce desire to protect. We fight, I declared, steeling myself for the unknown. For Sarah, for us. It was now or never. And then, out of the chaos, a sound pierced through the unmistakable ringing of familiar voices, bringing a surge of unexpected hope. The figures began to scatter, confusion rippling through their ranks, and suddenly, I saw a glimpse of someone familiar at the edge of the light. Sarah. But a sudden realization gripped my heart with visceral clarity. Their hold on her was deeper than I had dared imagine. And just as quickly as she appeared, she was pulled away, faded into the depths of darkness once again. Panic surged through me like wildfire. No! I screamed, stepping forward instinctively, but a firm grip held me back. It was Nate. We have to regroup. The realization crashed upon me, despair threatening to clamp down around my throat. I couldn't let this end like this. Not now, not when hope flickered still. But then, an explosion of fury erupted around us. We were outnumbered, but within me, the fire birthed hope as I noticed a familiar silhouette-edged Sarah figure sporting a vivid flash of personality that became intertwined with the shadows enveloping us. It was Lucas, the prescribed ally to our unyielding hope. "What are you waiting for?" he shouted, urgency etched into every syllable as he brandished something in his hands, a weapon of light and readiness, urging us back into the fray. Suddenly, choices spiraled like a whirlwind, and I felt the weight of loyalty and hope pulling us together. "Follow me," Lucas shouted again. "We're getting her back." And it hit. Moment stared back, the strength of love as our beacon, the light sparking the rise of unity against the dark. There, among the huddled shadows, hope burst free, igniting an inferno that combined us, forged in courage and survival. Alongside my friends, the ones I loved, the fight came alive as we surged forward, hearts aligned, lungs brimming with fiery screams of resolve. And in that chaotic pulse of exhilarating desperation, I felt the potential for change, for love, pushing us into the unknown. Whatever the outcome, whatever the cost, we were determined to fight this battle together. For Sarah, for us, and for the fragile light still pulsing somewhere within the storm. As we pushed into the fray, I whispered a silent promise. I would find her and nothing would hold us back. We would reclaim our love, our lives, our truth, for even in darkness, love was the blazing light that guided us home.